Good morning, YouTube. It's Mel Ray George Page coming to you live on YouTube. Well, this is some sad news I saw the other day, and I most definitely knew how to do a video about this because this man is an amazing actor. I've watched him over since I can remember him, over since my childhood to my adulthood. He is a legend, a great performer. You just got to know him by one name, Ed, and this is the great Mr. Ed Asner. As I found out yesterday, he died yesterday. He was 91 years old, and he was home in his home in he died at home in Tarzana, California. Now, many of you who, like me, who are like I say, over 40, remember Ed Asner from all his performances, but mostly you might know him for one of his biggest characters of all time is the great Lou Grant. You remember he was the head boss over on the series Mary Tyler Moore's show. He ran the news department, and Mary Tyler Moore, who played Mary Richards in the series, worked for him, and they butt heads. They had a great relationship, Mary Tyler Moore and Ed Asner, and also he went on later on and had a spinoff series called Lou Grant, where it was a drama. Remember what? It was on for a few years, and he is just a great actor. I mean, the range of stuff he did over his years. He's been acting pretty much, practically, I would say 80 years. About close to 70s. I mean, he was born originally in Kansas City, Missouri. That's how they say it out there. They say Missouri, not Missouri. They say Missouri. But he grew up in Kansas City, Kansas. Now his parents were originally from Russia, and they came to America as immigrants around about the early 2000s, late 1900s. And he went to school at in Kansas City, Missouri, and he studied. And he had a passion for education. And then he left Kansas City to go to Chicago University, and there he got a job. Until he got a job into acting, and he also worked at the steel mills. Now he switched his studies back in Kansas City to drama. And he debuted in some plays on at school, and he did some performances on Broadway and off Broadway. Now, he also did some commercials, and then he was drafted into the Korean War in 1951. He served as a U.S. Army Signals Corps. From 51 to 53, he appeared in plays and toured Army bases in Europe. And after he was done with his career in the military, he started to get into acting. Now, his career mostly, like many actors, he had a range of different stuff he did. I mean, it's just crazy. I was doing his research. He mostly was just television for a good few years. He was on series Studio One. He was on the city Route 66, Naked City. Alfred Hitchcock Presents. The Untouchables. I mean, the 11th Hour, and even the series, it's the Outer Limits. And around 61, he started some movies. His first early movie performances was the Murder Men, Kid Galahad, Satan Bag, El Dorado with I think he worked with John Wayne, Gun, Change of Heartbeat. But then by the 70s, his career hit when he played the character Lou Grant on the series The Mary Tyler Moore Show. And him and Dan McLeod, who played his right-hand man on the series. And it was the very most popular series. It was the starring vehicle for the actress Mary Tyler Moore. Remember her she was on the Dick Van Dyke series for many years ago. And her character, Mary Richards, was a young woman who was single and trying to make it big in New York. Y'all remember when she's in the middle, she throws the hat in the air. He had shows like that back then. It was Mary Tyler Moore Show came a little after the series My Girl. And with, it was a popular series. You had many stars on it. You had the late Valerie Harper. You had the late Miss Glenn Close. Not Glenn Close. I know her name. I remember she's passed away. I don't know why I say Glenn Close, but I'm sorry. And you had Guy McLeod, Ted Knight, Betty White. I mean, there was a lot of actors that were on that show over the years. And it was a great sitcom. I watched it a little bit when I was coming up because it was already by the time it was on. By the time I got old enough to really watch television, the show was already in syndication. because it ended around about from 70 to 77. And by the time, like I said, I was born in 74. And the series garnered a lot of awards for these actors. Ed Asner, Betty White, Mary Tyler Moore, Ted Knight. They had won several Emmys for the show. It had probably one of the sitcoms, especially created and produced by a woman, because Mary Tyler Moore had her own productions, MTM Productions. Remember, you used to have the little cat in the end instead of the tiger. And and during that time, Ed had earned awards and honors, and recognized for his character Lou Grant. And so, the series ended in 77, and then he got his own spin-off series with his character, The Lou Grant Show, where he was, this time it wasn't a comedy, it was a drama. It was a series focused on him as a newspaper man instead of working in the news, like television news. And the series lasted for, I think, I'm looking at Wikipedia because there's so much stuff about him. The series lasted from 77 to 82. And it was just another seeing Lou Grant from a different form, being what he is, a newspaper man, series about his craft, about his work. Then after that, he did a mountain of TV shows and movies and guest appearances. The Gathering. He also he earned an award for the movie The Roots. Remember Roots, where he played one of the the men who was shipping slaves from Africa. And that movie serial had a lot of actors, LeVar Burton, James Olmos. I mean, just a lot of names. Richard Waite. Richard Thomas, who played John Boy. I mean, it was a crew of our actors, and that was a great miniseries, Roots, and one of the greatest of all time. And like I say, he was steady acting. And he was performing and doing many TV shows and movies over his career. I mean, the list has gone on and on. His stuff he did for a good part of the 80s are just deep. Wage Apache, Fort Apache in the Bronx, 1981, The Hero's Wife, Pinocchio, The Empire of the Night. I mean, he just did a lot of stuff. JFK movie in 91. And then he started doing voiceover work. And he did a lot of cartoons that we all remember. He was on the series Captain Planet. He played Hudson on the Gargoyle series. He was J. Jonah Jameson on the Spider-Man series for many years. He also did Batman the Animated Series. I mean, the list of anime shows he did over his career. I mean, it's just, and then, he kept working and kept busy. In 97, he got back with Mary Tyler Moore. They did a straight-to-home TV movie, made-for-TV movie called Payback, where Mary Tyler Moore played a mother whose son was framed for a crime he didn't commit, and he was a cop and helping her. And that was their first time together since the Mary Tyler Moore series. And then he kept busy even after that. He was on more TV shows and did voiceover work. He was on, Angry Beavers, Life with Louie. He also was on the series The Practice. Also the short-lived Dan Aykroyd series Soul Man. I mean, Hercules. I mean, he had done a lot of stuff over the year. And in 2003, he was the movie Elf with God, I know his name. The actor who played Billy, Bobby Ricky Billy from the series Talladega Nights, Will Ferrell. And, he plays Santa Claus. And he played Santa Claus in many other TV shows and movies over his career. I mean, Ed just had a list of stuff he did. And then in 2005, he played the role of Ed Whistler, the senior, in the series The Boondocks. And I mean, he was pretty good. I liked that character. He was wild. He was this man, he didn't play no guff. He was a tough old man. And he did a series, and from the time the series ended, and he kept doing animation and stuff. He also, in 2009, he did one of Disney Pixar's most successful animated movies, which was Up. And we all remember Up. Up was a great movie. I've seen it, where he played, in that series, he played Carl. He was the voice for the Carl, Fred Ricketson. And he was an old man his wife died, and him and his little boy and the dog went traveling because he took put a bunch of balloons into his house and was traveling. But it was a great movie, a classic movie, Up. And he kept on acting. He kept busy, did more movies over his career. He was in the movie The Animal with Rob Schneider. He did more voiceover work. I mean, the list of stuff he did is extensive. It's crazy. This guy, he kept busy. He was, he played, so many different TV shows and movie shows over his career. He had a guest appearances, CSI New York. The Cleveland Show, and around about Hawaii Five-O series, even the old Hawaii Five-O series, Law and Order, a special unit where he played a counselor who abused young boys, and that was the episode Mike Tyson played in. If you remember that episode, it's a classic. He has just a bevy of movies and TV shows in his career. And he was in the premiere episode for the series Cobra Kai with Zapka, you forgot his name right, and he played his stepfather. Remember in the first part of the series where he gave him some money and say, hey, I'm not doing this anymore for you, I'm done. I remember I watched that. And he also was in the superhero series Doom Patrol. This guy was steady busy. Even up to he was already about in his late 80s, close to his 90s, and still working. And you ever saw Doom Patrol? It's a pretty cool show. And then he was also made appearances on Blue Bloods, and he was on Teen Titans Go. He did voiceover work for that, and he kept busy up to his death. And he had earned a lot of friendships with actors like Dick Van Dyke and Mary Tyler Moore. The list goes on and on. He just did a lot over his career, and the people know him and love him and respect him. Now, in his earnings, he had earned several Oscar awards and other, Emmys and other awards. He even got his star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame. That's a lot. Also, he was married quite a few times. He had his first wife from 1959 to 1988. And then he had a second wife from 89 to 1915. Now, he had quite a few children, 4 children. This is one of his oldest sons and his wife. And also, he did a lot of charity work, especially that one of his grandsons had autism. And he was very activist. A good part of his career, he was a very active person. Before his charity work, he was a strong activist for support of unions and other stuff. The man did a lot of things. He was just that type of man with a big heart and a great nature for doing things right. He was just a great actor. And, he earned, like I said, a lot of respect for actors like him and Mark Hamill right here. Mark Hamill, Luke Skywalker, who also did the voice for the Joker, who also did a lot of voiceover work. And, but like I said, his passing was of natural causes, as the details are told. He was, like I said, serviceman. So like I said, thank you to your service, Mr. Asner. And he was a great actor, and just, you will recognize his gravity voice, and he was a stout man and just a respectful person. It's not much I can say, only that what I seen, what I was growing up with as a kid and how much I respect from his actor. And I think he just was a gold standard for actors back then. But you know what, he was greater than what people might not think that he is, but that he is. So, like I said, he passed away yesterday. Actually, he's the 29th when he passed away, and was just made the announcement made yesterday. And I said it was at home in Tarzana, California, when he died. But like I said, this man was a great actor, a great performer, a philanthropist, supporter of the people. He lived 91 years. 91 years. And that's as much as a human can live as possible. And you know what? And he's in a better place now. He with the people he knew and loved and worked with, family members, everything. And it's just hearing his gravity voice, probably talking to an angel. He was a great man, Mr. Ed Asner, and we're gonna miss him. God bless you, Ed Asner. It's your man on the way, George Page. Don't subscribe. I'm out.